welcome back. Something a little different today. I'm going to try to broaden my horizons on the channel a little bit and do a little bit more of the truck stuff coverage that I do. I do race a lot and I like working on the bike a lot, and that's kind of like my passion. But before that, it was this stuff. And I really think I want to start kind of sharing some of the stuff I do with the truck, because it's a lot. And I just don't cover any of it because I was trying to keep it to motorcycle specific stuff. But let's face it, that market's really small and nothing I do really gains any traction. So I'm going to try to broaden a little bit and get the truck on the video a little more, because I spent all last summer, once I parked the bike for a little bit, I spent most of the summer traveling around in that thing, going to different car shows, and I went down to Kentucky for Holly's Mole Party, and I do a lot of like local morning cars and coffee stuff, Wednesday night cruise-ins, but I also like really working on it, and there's a lot of work done to that thing. I've had it for like 15 years at this point, and I'm going to give you a little walk around so you know what you're maybe going to be seeing on the channel a little bit more here. So this is my 07 Dodge Ram 1500 two-wheel drive. I bought it originally because I wanted a V8 two-wheel drive truck to tow with that I could lower and make kind of cool. I didn't realize I was a Dodge guy until I test drove this, and then I became a Dodge guy. But there is 345,000 miles on this truck, and that's the third motor in it. Through no fault of Dodge's, I've been doing some work to this thing. But currently it's a 6.1 swapped, motor's built. It's got a little supercharger on it, and it is a riot. What happened was, originally the stock motor started making some rattle. I couldn't figure out what it was. It wasn't the Hemi tick everybody talks about. It was something in the bottom end was rattling. And because I was towing my motorcycle trailer around so much, I didn't want to be stuck out of state. So I did just a reman crate motor in this thing. Drove that for about 40,000 miles, and then I put the supercharger on it. Drove it around for a while with that. And then one day I just happened to be coming home. It was in March, actually, which it's March right now. So that would have been three years ago. I was coming home from a little Sunday drive, and I wasn't getting on it or nothing, and the reman motor kicked the number 5 rod out of the side of the motor. Made a big hole in the block. That's when I decided that I always wanted to build a motor for it, so that was how it was going to start. So while I blew it up in March, I managed to find a takeout 6.1 block that had a spun rod bearing. Local shop had it. Bought the block for I think 300 bucks. Found a guy down in South Milwaukee had a mint condition 6.1 crank, which are forged cranks. So it is a stock block, stock bore, stock stroke, stock 6.1 crank motor. But there is it's got good Eagle rods in it. It's got DSS pistons, comp cam. It's got the newer style, or the newer model 09 and up Eagle cylinder heads on it, which are like huge intake ports on them suckers. Those are some massive cylinder heads, and they're an upgrade from the pre-Eagle motor. And then I'll get you in there and show you the actual motor itself. But yeah, it's got a high ram on it. I think I said comp cam. Valve train is all from Cam Motion. It's got little shorty headers on it just because they were a really easy bolt-in job. Things are kind of tight underneath this thing. And then so what else? Yeah, I mean it's a real basic. It's just like it's an off-the-shelf build motor, so it's all good parts, but it's not, you know, it's not a 1,000 horsepower motor. I built it to make 600, so it's got enough good parts to take it, but there's enough fuel system on it to support 600, and with the supercharger I think we're pretty close. I have not ever had it on a dyno, so don't ask me what the dyno numbers are. I've been tuning it myself with HP tuners, which is a pain in the ass because HP tuners can, we'll keep it PG, but yeah, more complicated than it needs to be. But yeah, I've been tuning it myself with HP tuners. I did reach out for some help, and I got a few things dialed in that I was struggling with. It would randomly have a throttle stuck, like a sail on condition, which you don't really want. Figured out what that was. It was a setting I had missed. And I got a little help with the trans tune. That is a stock trans on it. I have never pulled the drain pan on that thing. I just check the fluid, make sure it stays full, and it ain't leaking nothing. And that thing spent every year of its life, minus the last last two winters it's finally been parked, and the last 2 summers it finally hasn't had to tow. So it's had a hard life, and that trans just works. Everybody badmouths them, but clearly I'm not having fun with it, and it ain't giving me any problems. Knock on wood. But yeah, so I kind of want to branch the channel out a little bit, and I mean, I do a lot of cool stuff with this truck. Like, I know like a lot of people like junkyard trips. I'm always at the junkyard looking for when they get in fresh third gens. I go pick all the parts off them that are like little piddly stuff you don't want to have to order, like little rubber trinkets and like door weather stripping. I got like door wiring harnesses for all the power switches, power windows. I grab all that stuff because it's dirt cheap to get it now. And my basement looks like a third gen Dodge parts warehouse right now. But yeah, I mean, I love this thing. I would sell my house and live in this before I ever got rid of this truck. I'd sell everything I owned before I ever got rid of this truck. And that bike, it'd be on the chopping block in a hurry if it came down to keeping this thing instead. But I'm gonna pop the hood on it, kind of show you some details of some of the things I've done. As you can see, there is like, you know, some cosmetic things going on here. I'll kind of explain. So I know the shadow is casting kind of some weird, you know, weird visuals going on. But the truck is lowered. It's about a 5.7-ish something drop. It's all kind of components I pieced together. It wasn't one big kit, other than I did buy the components to do the rear flip kit in the back. But the front is it's spindles and springs. The back is a flip kit, and then I got blocks in there that correct the pinion angle for when I got dropped. I did take the overload springs because obviously I don't haul with this thing like I once did. There's not even a hitch on it anymore. But the overload springs are gone, so that gave me a 1/2 inch of spring pack room. So I added a pinion shims and stuff in there, so I got to, you know, remove and add without changing the ride height in the back. There is a rear sway bar kit on it, which helped a ton. Like, I do kind of back road bash this thing quite a bit, and it's a lot of fun. But that rear sway bar helped a ton. The front sway bar on these trucks is huge, but because it is lower, you got to use their 07 F-150 sway bar end links. And then same in the back. They're actually, it's funny enough, they're 07 Ford Ranger sway bar links, because that sway bar is made to work with the stock height truck. So when you lower things, you just got to correct some stuff. What else? It's got 20-inch Hellcat replicas on it, which I freaking love. Actually, I get a lot of compliments on them, and it's a factory looking wheel. Just, I think the bronze really kind of pops off. Tires are 295 45/20s because 20-inch tires are cheaper than 22-inch tires, and I get a little more sidewall, and with it being as low as it is, a little more sidewall, rides a little better. Eibach shocks all the way around. Love them. They got a 1,000,000-mile warranty on them things. And they've been on the truck for 4-5 years at this point. Not an issue, not a leak, nothing. Awesome. And actually, backtracking, this truck has been lowered since the first year I've owned it. So Wisconsin winters, towing a trailer. I even dropped the axle on that thing to lower the trailer with the truck, so the trailer wasn't sitting at any goofy angles, and I didn't need a stupid hitch setup for the truck. But yeah, actually had that lowered to match this. But yeah, so the funny story, I cut a hole on a brand new hood. Let's see, this is spring, summer, so it's been last summer. I had a big ass branch fall out of a tree, land on the hood, and creased it all the way across. So this hood is brand new. And then, of course, obviously, after I get a brand new hood, why wouldn't I go ahead and cut a big ass hole in it for a supercharger intake? Because if you're gonna do some crazy stuff, you gotta do things other people aren't willing to do, including putting a hole in your hood. Project I started working on before the snow flew last year was actually having brake cooling ducts on it. Does it need them? Absolutely not. Are they working and functional? They are. So they're NACA ducts. Sorry, my shadow, like, it's bright out today, but my shadow's going to be in a lot of this stuff. See, it's got carbon trim rings and NACA ducts, and then the brake duct is actually in there. Comes out, pointed at the caliper. Not exactly how I would do it if it was a multi-million-dollar race team, but they are functional and they work. The carbon trim rings I made myself. I cut them out. It does have a spoiler on it. In case you haven't noticed, I love as much fun as drag racing is, I love like stock cars, late models, road racing, you know, vintage Trans Am stuff. So that's where I'm kind of, a lot of the road racy cues I'm using on this thing, even though it's a 4-door truck. I really like kind of utilizing things that they use, you know, on road race cars. That's kind of the thing I go to. Actually, I'd love to autocross this at some point if I ever get some free time. But yeah, it's got a 6-inch polycarbonate blade spoiler I tinted. They are late model brackets. So that actually would be on a late model, like a Circle Track late model car. The tailgate's actually wrapped carbon white. It turned out pretty good because that's the second tailgate that's been on the truck. You drive one in Wisconsin long enough, you start having some issues and you gotta jump on them. The original tailgate, shit canned it. The bottom edge rotted out. Second tailgate lasted for quite a while. Bottom edge started to kind of show some wear. I sanded it all out, fixed it, did what I needed to do to keep it from spreading. But clearly I didn't want to pay or have to buy materials to match it white when at some point I might just replace this gate too. So we went ahead and wrapped it carbon white. And I might actually wrap it another time, like undo this. This is a matte carbon white. I'd like to see if I could find like a gloss carbon white wrap and then rewrap the tailgate. And it kind of looks cool. I mean, from the back at night, there's no glare off it, which is kind of neat. Roll pan has been on there since like second year that I've had the truck. And I used to have, it's actually over there. I built a hitch that actually, instead of going behind the license plate, it came out right underneath it. So it was just easier because I towed like every day with this thing. So that was just easier for the hookup. The exhaust, I built that. I built a complete stainless Y pipe. It's got a hooker muffler on it. I mean, I like how it sounds, but it does get to a certain RPM where it's got a little bit of a wrap to it. I don't like that, so that muffler will probably go away. But just part throttle, driving around idle. Sounds pretty good. Got a little chop to it. Built the exhaust, comes up. It's all stainless up to the muffler. Then the muffler's coated mild steel, whatever. And then it's a mild steel tailpipe that I kind of built as a template, and I just haven't replaced it. I got an idea for a muffler and a tailpipe. It'll look the same, but I'm going to make a tailpipe out of aluminum instead of the mild steel. But the tip I built, kind of just a cue to road race type stuff. Made the carbon ring again. Looking at my rusty rotors because I'm going to go drive this thing today actually, and you might come with me. It does have all power stop brakes on it, so it's got really nice drilled and slotted rotors, got a good set of pads on it. The front splitter, I love splitters, and people can say what they want. I believe the little arrow cues help because when I kind of go out romping around this thing, I can tell there's just differences, I'm telling you. But yeah, I built the splitter out of, it's 1/2-inch HD MF, like it's plastic, but it's really rigid plastic. And actually when I get the hood popped, it comes all the way around and goes all the way across the front of the truck under there, and then it's tied into the front core support with some struts. So you could actually stand on it if you wanted to. What else have I been working on this thing? I'm always like, when the bike is kind of down or not much racing going on, this thing's always got some kind of a project I'm working on. In case you thought I was lying. 344,581. And by the way, for that many miles on it, that is the only problem in the interior from sliding in and out before it was lowered. But she's minty clean even. This thing smells like home to me. I could sleep in this thing and be completely content all freaking day. Oh, and it does have an air ride setup on it. Or no, I take that back. Not air ride, an airbag assist kit. So they are Peterbilt, like semi-truck, big truck, cab airbags I put in the back. Oh, should be able to see them in there. They're Firestone airbags. That's what I would use to make sure the truck didn't bottom out before I notched the frame myself. I made a C-notch kit in the back. So I put an onboard air kit. There's an air compressor under the hood. I can fill and dump the rear bags to haul the trailer. But that kit will probably come off because I have no reason to put air in it anymore to keep it level. There it is. Like I said, it's a built 6.1. The only thing that sucks about all these late model vehicles is there's just so much crap to them that you can't see the motor real well. And these trucks, to start with, the motor is set back really far. I mean, the front of the motor is back here. There's 2.5 feet of truck in front of the motor. But it's a Holley high ram with the side mount Ford style throttle body. And I did have to notch the cowl to get the high ram in there. This all came to be because when I did the 6.1 and went to the Eagle style heads to run, I'm gonna try to not confuse you here, to run the Eagle heads, my intake options, because it's in a truck, my intake options were all limited to basically car style stuff where it had a front mount throttle body, and that puts the throttle body in the way of all of this. I wanted to keep the stock 07 Ram front drive basically just for serviceability. Like if I got to go to a parts store somewhere, I'm out of town and I need something, I want to make sure they got it, because the stuff for an 07 Ram is a lot easier to get than a mismatched thing of custom stuff I had to make work. So in order to be able to maintain my whole front drive from the 5.7 that was in the truck, so this is all 07 front drive, to maintain that, the options were Holley high ram or low ram. Even with the high ram with the front mount throttle body, it still hit everything up here. So it's a high ram with the side mount Ford lid, so you can change them lids out. So by putting the throttle body off to the side, I got to keep everything in the front. And then with the supercharger bracketry is made to work with the truck front drive kit. So even if I did switch all this over to car stuff, now my supercharger bracketry was different. So it was just kind of this, for every one thing I solved, something came up. There was just, if I thought I had a solution, it would come to a dead end because of something else. And it was, the money is involved and everything else, but this was the simple solution: high ram with side mount throttle body. And then it just made for kind of a goofy looking charge pipe. You can see the inlet for the supercharger off the backside. It's just an aluminum elbow, filters there, lines up with that. Now you might ask yourself, how does that work when it's downpouring out? Funny you should ask. That inlet right here, it comes right in this area here. So when it rains, it hits that inner wheel well and just runs right out to the ground. And when I'm driving, the filter actually stayed dry. I got stuck in a downpour one time, and I think just because of the speed I was going, not much water managed to get into that filter. I mean, it stayed dry because of where this comes down, kind of in this area. The water would have to come in and then hit it. Wind would have to hit it to push it into the filter. So it kind of all fell in place and worked out pretty slick. Did do the Holley Sniper valve covers, Holley high ram, Holley fuel rails. It's got fuel injector clinic injectors. Down here you can see where the front splitter is tied in with the struts. That's where you can stand on it back there. I did make it in two pieces, so there's two halves. So if I fucking whack something, and nice of me to throw in a random F-bomb right there. But yeah, so if I whack a corner, I don't have to remake the whole thing. I can just do a half. I get this material from work. We have like scrap pieces laying around. But yeah, I mean, this is 15 years worth of work and miles and seat time on this thing. And it definitely gets some looks, gets a lot of questions because it's an odd duck. Not a lot of people are hot rod and third gen Rams, especially two-wheel drive gassers. If you see a third gen Ram, it's usually a lifted diesel. But it's what I have to hot rod, so it's what I'm going to hot rod. But now it's getting to be about noon, and I want to get something to snack on. So let's go take a road trip. We'll get her nice and hot anyway so I can change the oil on it. Sandwich specials going on. I'm going to do a Reuben challenge. I'm going to try to get as many Reubens as I can before St. Patrick's Day. So we're heading out to one of my favorite little like drive-in spots because they happen to have a Reuben for a limited time. And it's a nice little back roads drive, probably about a half-hour trip. So in case you're wondering, the supercharger only makes like 5 pounds of boost. It's not a real big macho kit. There's no intercooler on this thing, but I think this winter one of my projects is going to be putting an intercooler on it. If for nothing else, I want to make a kit. But they do make a different size pulley, get a little boost on it that way. They make a different size housing now that I could upgrade my game here with the supercharger a little bit. But this thing, honestly, with just 5 pounds of boost, is pretty much a riot. And I don't know that I need to lean on it that much. This isn't really a pro mod for ripping around here. But yeah, future plans. I've been driving around for about 4 hours. I did manage to get lunch, but it was not at my favorite drive-in. They're closed today, Sunday, and they're still kind of running their pre-season hours since they're not really into the major busy swing of the like the cruising season, I guess. But I still got my my Reuben. Just happened to go to Cousins to get it, but it was really good. But that's kind of the gist, or more like the intro for the Ram that I'm basically working on. Every time I'm not making videos for bikes, I'm working on this, so I might as well start making videos working on this. But yeah, so it'll be some a lot of car shows and cruising, and every time I got a project, I'll try to film it. Like later on this evening, sun's going down, but it's actually dinner time. I went and ate lunch, and that's how much time has gone by now. It's actually dinner time. But I'm going to, I got a tonneau cover for this thing I'm going to put on. The one that's been on there has been on there since I bought it. It was actually on the truck before this, so that's how old that tonneau cover is. So I finally, spoiled myself, got one for Christmas. So I'm going to put that on. And then, yeah, as I kind of, I got a bunch of little things I want to do to this truck yet before like the real car show cruise night season kicks off. So as I get into doing some of that stuff, I'll film it. But It'll be bikes, it'll be this truck, and who knows, like all my buddies, I'm the only idiot with a motorcycle. All my buddies are into race cars, so maybe I'll film some of that shit, because I help make parts and work on some of that stuff too. So yeah, thanks for watching this. It's kind of a random come out of nowhere video about a truck on a motorcycle channel, but we're gonna try to make it not just a motorcycle channel now. So hopefully if you like my style, you'll still like doing the truck stuff.